Season's greetings, my movie geeks. Today I'm going to talk about something a little different. Not a review of such, but a short video about my least favourite part of pretty much every interpretation of Christmas Carol. And I'm going to then mention which movie I think did it best. So, before we begin, click like, share and subscribe if you want to, and click the bell below to be alerted about future videos. First off, let's talk about what my least favourite part of A Christmas Carol is. Now, if you watched my last review, you'll know that it is Stave 2, or The Ghost of Christmas Past. But not the whole thing. I like seeing Scrooge's childhood, but it's the relationship aspect that I have never liked. It has never been done to the effect here that I have fully enjoyed. It's never felt like it's been fully completed, and I don't think there is one film that I have seen that I have enjoyed this aspect of the story and felt that it was resolved particularly well. Well, again, except for one. I'm going to read the part that I'm talking about, and maybe get my wife to read along with me. So if it doesn't follow this, she said no.
It matters little.
She said softly.
To you, very little. Another idol has displaced me, and if it can cheer and comfort you in time to come, as I would have tried to, I have no just cause to grieve.
What idol has displaced you? He rejoined.
A golden one.
This is the even-handed dealing of the world, he said. There is nothing on which it is so hard as poverty, and there is nothing it professes to condemn with such severity as the pursuit of wealth.
You fear the world too much,
she answered gently.
All of your hopes have merged into the hope of being beyond the chance of sorry reproach. I have seen nobler aspirations fall off one by one, until master passion, gain, engrosses you. Have I not?
What then? He retorted. Even if I have grown so much wiser, what then? I am not changed towards you. She shook her head. Am I?
Our contract is an old one. It was made when we were both poor and content to be so, until in good season we improve our worldly fortune by our patient industry. You are changed. When it was made, you were another man.
I was a boy, he said impatiently.
Your own feeling tells you that you are not what you are,
she returned.
I am that which promised happiness when we were one in heart, is fraught now with misery, now that we are two. How often and how keenly I have thought of this, I will not say. It is enough that I have thought of it, and I can release you.
Have I ever sought release?
In words? No, never.
In what then?
In changed nature, in an altered spirit, in another atmosphere of life, another hope as its great end, in everything that made my love of any worth or value in your sight. If this had never been between us,
said the girl, looking mildly, but the steadiness upon him.
Tell me, would you seek me out and try and win me now? Ah, no.
He seemed to yield to the justice of this supposition, in spite of himself, but he said with a struggle, You think not?
I would gladly think otherwise if I could, she answered. Heaven knows, when I have learned a truth like this, I know how strong and irresistible it must be. But if you were free today, tomorrow, yesterday, can I even believe that you would choose a dowerless girl? You, who, in your very confidence with her, were everything by gain or choosing her, if for a moment you were false enough to your one guiding principle to do so, do I not know what your repentance and regret would surely follow? I do, and I release you, with a full heart, for the love of him you once were.
He was about to speak, but with her head turned from him, she resumed.
You may, The memory of what is past makes me hope that you will have pain in this, a very, very brief time, and you will dismiss the recollection of it gladly as an unprofitable dream from which it happened, well, that you awoke. May you be happy in your life you have chosen.
She left him, and they parted. And now Scrooge looked on more attentively than ever, when the master of the house, having his daughter leaning fondly on him, sat down with her and her mother at his own fireside, and when he thought that such another creature, quite as graceful and as full of promise, might have called him father, and been a springtime in the haggard winter of his life, his sight grew very dim indeed. "Belle," said the husband, turning to his wife with a smile, "I saw an old friend of yours this afternoon."
Who was it?
"Guess,"
How can I? I don't know.
she added in the same breath, laughing, as he laughed. "Mr. Scrooge. Mr. Scrooge it was. I passed his office window, and as it was not shut up and he had a candle inside, I could scarcely help seeing him. His partner lies upon the point of death, I hear, and there he sat alone. Quite alone in the world, I do believe." "Spirit," said Scrooge in a broken voice, "remove me from this place."
I told you these were shadows of things that have been,
said the ghost.
that they are what they are. Do not blame me.
"Remove me!" Scrooge exclaimed. "I cannot bear it." He turned upon the ghost, and seeing that it looked upon him with a face in which, in some strange way, there were fragments of all the faces it had shown him, wrestled with it. And the film adaptations all take this stave and interpret it differently. My last review was Scrooge from 1970, and the scene in that is the song Happiness that is sung by Isabel. It is a montage showing Scrooge with Isabel as she sings, and I absolutely hate it. Finney gives a weary smile every now and then that suggests her singing is extremely annoying, and I'll be honest, I'd be the same too. And we get a scene where she breaks up with him and says he loves Gold more than her. At least Gold doesn't sing, I say. But despite it being acted well and Finney giving a performance that shows his lack of care, it works. I feel like there should have been more, given the source material does go into more detail, and it's a shame that this version doesn't, but I suppose you've got runtimes to think about. Scrooge, later retitled A Christmas Carol starring Alistair Sim from 1951, goes a different route. There's more of a focus on the relationship between he and his sister Fan, how Scrooge was unwanted by his father after Scrooge's mother died in childbirth. The great thing about this is Scrooge becomes his father when his sister Fan also dies in childbirth, and Scrooge blames Fred. But because of his own pain, he is shown himself leaving his sister's deathbed and missing the point where she says, look to him to look after Fred.
Brother Ebeneezer, promise me you'll take care of my boy. Promise me you'll take care of my...
You heard her. Forgive me, Fan. Forgive me. Forgive me, Fan. Forgive me, Fan.
There's more detail in this film showing how he changed from a poor, happy man to a rich, angry and selfish man. It's extremely well done, and it shows how he and Marley actually put Fezziwig out of business. We do get the relationship between Scrooge and his fiancée Alice, but it's only fleeting. Although, whereas Finney's version didn't follow his fiancée out of the room when she broke up with him, Sim's version leaves her behind, making it more abrupt. The 1999 version of Patrick Stewart's one-man stage play of A Christmas Carol is great. Stewart is great as Scrooge, and this film focuses on the romantic relationship, but again doesn't fully commit. They dance, and then she leaves him. It's short and ends with Scrooge extinguishing the light from the ghost of Christmas past, as it's written pretty much in Stave 2. I recently reviewed The Polar Express, which was a Robert Zemeckis motion capture animated movie. But he also did a version of A Christmas Carol in the same vein. It starred Jim Carrey as Scrooge, and he plays a few other characters just like Tom Hanks did. And the interpretation of Stave 2 is actually extremely well done. In it, we see them meet, and then she leaves in such a way, in much the same way as the others did, but with added inclusion of the ghost taking on the faces of his past, making Scrooge extinguish the light of the past, much the same as Patrick Stewart did. This also makes the decision to make the ghost of Christmas past a candle, which is also very well done. It's fun, but also suffers the same fate as the Polar Express from, falling into Uncanny Valley. But those few examples I've explained, I don't think do it as well as the next film. And it's going to be controversial because I feel that despite them setting up the relationship between Scrooge and the Scrooge character and his love interest, this is the best film that I've seen take Stave 2 and run with it. I haven't mentioned what it is yet. Have I kept the suspense going too long? Does anyone care? Have you already guessed which one I'm going to talk about? Well, I think the best relationship scene in A Christmas Carol Scrooge adaptation is...
Bill Murray, get Scrooged.
Hey, back off, big man. That may work with the chicks, but not with me.
Scrooged. Bill Murray stars as Frank Cross, a TV president who is remarkably like Ebeneezer Scrooge. He's also scheduled a live adaptation of Charles Dickens' classic A Christmas Carol, or Scrooge as they call it, on Christmas Eve. The rat bastard. As such, his meanness, which is extremely funny, makes him become the main candidate to be Scrooged. He sees his past and his relationship with Claire Phillips, played by Karen Allen, and it's a great introduction that is completely different from the book. It's written well and is funny. We see a couple of Christmases with them until she leaves him due to his selfishness and trying to climb the ladder within this TV network. It's all in keeping with A Christmas Carol, but it's done with laughs and love. But as with Stave 2, in the book, we actually see where she is in her own life. The majority of films bypass this, but in Scrooge, it is at the forefront of the story, and in my opinion, makes the story better for it. Claire has gone on to help the homeless people in the city as Frank goes from bad to worse. He calls her after he's confronted by his old boss, Lou Haywood, and this is what kicks off Frank's redemption. It's all tied a lot more neatly than other adaptations. But what I think is great about her story is it's both intertwined with all three ghosts. We see where she is in the present, and we see where she will be in the future after her interaction with Frank. He's so rotten that she ends up being as heartless as him, which I really think benefits this story.
I'm sorry, Claire.
Thanks a lot, Lumpy.
During the redemption scene, we also get a reconciliation scene, which again goes on to thrust this interpretation of to the forefront of A Christmas Carol adaptations.
And they lived happily ever after.
I know it's not strictly an adaptation, but it's done so well that it has been watched by me and countless others every Christmas for years. Show me someone's list that doesn't have this on. Let me know what you thought. Has any other adaptation of A Christmas Carol done the romantic relationships between Scrooge and his fiancée right? Is Scrooge the best interpretation of this, where it's been done right? I want to hear what you think. Have I missed any that you think are better? Again, please like, share and subscribe. And if I don't see you, I hope you have an extremely good Christmas. And here's to a better new year.
Back off, big man. That may work with the checks, but not with me.